Welcome back. Nigerian womenfolk are known to be hardworking and accountable and are always ready to make the extra sacrifice for the love of family. That propensity for long suffering evidently puts the average Nigerian woman at the center of the discussion around the call for greater empowerment of women and worsening incidences of child hunger in the country. What can be done to break the deadly cycle? We're now being joined by Programs Director Oladile Fajemirokun Foundation, Kenechukwu Egbue. It's good to have you with us on Newsday. I know in that intro the focus was on women, but let's take a look at the problem of child hunger in Nigeria. That's also part of it. What are the underlying causes and how is it impacting youth development and, of course, ultimately population growth?
Okay, thank you very much for having me. Well, the incidence of child malnutrition is a burning concern, a huge burden really in Nigeria, and there are several reports that have revealed that, things could even get worse. It's a growing concern. You asked about the underlying causes. Of course, very easily I would say poverty. When I say poverty, that is like an umbrella, but then, beneath that there is a lack of education and, a lot of other attendant issues. Of course, there is also the issue of ignorance, even outside of just the poverty itself. The reason I say this is from, at least I'll share my own experience, and we have partnered for the past couple of years with primary health care centers. Also, of course, they operating under the auspices of the Lagos State Primary Health Care Board. And then you get to, I would say that we get to encounter poverty firsthand. We run food demonstration classes. So we get to have a way of assessing the mindset of some of these women. A lot of them come from backgrounds where, besides just being poor, there is also the issue, where there are social vices. You have, let me give you a typical example. In areas like, Egbue, in some of the local communities, right after the refinery, right, you have a lot of construction work going on there. So you have a lot of construction workers who come from different states. They come, they meet these young ladies, perhaps not even doing anything, perhaps have no education, no formal education, and then of course, somehow it happens that they get these women pregnant. They are quite vulnerable because they don't know any better. And then all of a sudden, the construction work is gone. These men are out of their lives. Now they are saddled with the challenge of having to raise a child without any economic engagement whatsoever, without any prior knowledge whatsoever. Some of them even are under the radar, or outside of the radar of the primary health care centers because of the existence of traditional birth attendants. That also has its own implications in the long run. So it's really, multifaceted.
Very good.
All right, according to the World Food Programme,
yes,
an estimated 14.4 million people in Nigeria experience hunger, but 4.3 of them are children under the ages of 5.
Yes.
And that the big question is, how do we close that gap?
Okay. Well, the figures are really startling. A lot of people don't even know. Now, the bulk of this population is in the north. But then again, when you say the north, you find out that a lot of people, even some professionals and professional stakeholders, don't even know how prevalent it is in Lagos. It's also that bad. But then again, the same World Food Programme, I think sometime last year, pledged support of about $2.5 billion to the current administration, to help out. I'm also aware that they are trying to find ways and means to help the Zero Hunger program of the current administration, under which you have other programs like the homegrown school feeding. I can also say, like, for instance, in Lagos, you have other areas that help to curtail food insecurity, through the agro-processing programs, support for agro-processors, small-scale agro-processors, and all of that. But then the honest truth is that it's going to take a concerted effort. Everybody wants to say, the government, but then again, it takes concerted efforts from NGOs, also from private organizations, and of course, yes, government parastatals as well. But believe you me, it takes a lot. It's, like I said, it's multifaceted. When you're looking at malnutrition, you might want to look at it from an angle of, oh, you know what, we are trying to address this. We are going to administer nutrient-based or, nutrient-rich foods to the children. But then we do something like this for, like, let's say 6 months. Yeah. You see some progress. But the question is, have you solved the underlying causes, for instance, poverty? So that child gains weight. You have children who suffer from severe acute malnutrition, and then you're able to administer food perhaps weekly. You take their measurements, maybe their MUAC, that is their middle upper arm circumference, and other indicators. When you're done with that intervention, the question is, how is it sustained such that they don't slip back to malnutrition? How do you help them? So it means that there has to be a lot of economic empowerment programs, especially for their mothers. There has to be constant monitoring, even after, even post-intervention. So those are some of the things that you need to put in place to make it sustainable. Otherwise, it's just going to be a vicious cycle. Oh, you make progress, it goes back. You make progress, they go back to the same situation, perhaps even worse.
And still going on the interventionist role, and I'm hoping you can shed more light regarding your foundation regarding all of this issue. So what are the main challenges in trying to come in and help people out in this regard?
Okay, so I would say that one of the major challenges would be, for instance, we operate mainly in the Southwest. Now, you would also agree with me that the prevalence is even more so in the North. Now, there's a challenge of insecurity. I remember there was a time when, I think about 2 or 3 years ago, we had considered to go to Yobe, and then we are getting our gear together, getting the team, the logistics together, and then the next thing, maybe a few days, in preparation, we hear, oh, there's been this attack, there's been this, there's been that, and we're like, we have to stay alive to help people. Yeah. So there's that challenge, but then let me bring it down to Lagos. Now, in Lagos, there's also, like I said, the challenge of, so to speak, the existence of traditional birth attendants. Okay. And why I say that could be a challenge is because you cannot exactly guarantee the hygienic standards being adopted. That is number one. Of course, they are quite cheap and all of that, but then again, they also makes it such that some of these mothers are under, outside of the radar. You cannot account for them. Yeah. So there isn't accurate data on the full extent of malnutrition prevalence. So you can only work with what is obtainable. For us, we go the extra mile, and then we work particularly with the primary health care center. Initially, when we kicked off, we started doing some socioeconomic profiling because, of course, we discovered that it's not enough to say, okay, we're administering this intervention. After this, what happens? Mm-hmm. For those that are, coming from a place of poverty, what happens? You have a family unit of, say, 5, 6, members. Of course, father, mother, and maybe about 5 kids, let me see. And the father is a fisherman. Now, this is not commercial scale fishing. Yeah. The mother perhaps just roasts the fish and then sells maybe 6, 7 pieces. How do they, cater for themselves? Even they themselves need intervention. Talk more of these kids. So there is that challenge. There's a sensitization challenge, which we then try to break through the food demonstration classes. We've been able to sensitize, say, in the past 3 years, or in the past 3 to 4 years, we've been able to sensitize at least 2,000 mothers, through weekly food demonstration classes, helping them to appreciate, low-cost food options. Not all of them can afford the NAN and the SMA and all of that. So we try to help them to appreciate the, local options available to them within their affordability as well, how they can combine this. In fact, we do, that's why it's called a food demonstration. Mm-hmm. Actually teach them these things, and of course give them some food, sometimes even do some trivia. So it's not just like you're there to just listen, and we help them to also answer questions. What did we discuss last week?
It's interactive.
Exactly. When you answer correctly, we give you also, nutritious stuff for your kids as well. And then for those ones that have children that are particularly malnourished from assessment, we then enroll them into the program, which we dubbed the Sustainable Malnutrition Intervention Program, Smallings. And when we kicked off, one of the things that we did for the first batch, of mothers and children that pass through the program is we try to help them start businesses, right, by giving them cash grants. But we realize that, again, poverty is, multifaceted, multidimensional. So what it meant for us eventually was that we found out, some of them will say, you know what, I tried to start a business, but, my uncle's mom passed on. I had to use the money for his funeral. My landlord chased us out. I had to get a new rent. So at the end of the day, you've not really made any progress. So when we noticed that, we now said, okay, you know what, we're going to switch the style. So what we then did is we identified a vocational training center. And then, mind you, some of these people, they'll tell you, when you give me the money, I'm going to start tailoring. I'm going to start this, I'm going to start that. Not because they have any particular skill or experience, but because they've seen maybe their neighbors do this, do that. And then they say, when you give me, I will do this, I will do that. But then they are unable to. So what we then chose to do is we then partnered with a vocational training center and said, you know what, when you're done with this and you choose to move forward, we would enroll you in this school, we would pay the fees, we'll put them on a stipend every month. We've been doing this at least for the past 3 years now, putting them on a stipend. And then now we have a lot of them who, one of them right now works with 4 Points by Sheraton. She's a chef, learns culinary and hospitality. Some of them are now able to start hairdressing on their own. In fact, even whilst they were still going to the vocational training center, because we go there to follow up. They say, I'm asking of this particular person, and say, she's not yet here. She went on a job. I'm like, goodness gracious, this is someone that when she used to attend the malnutrition program, you literally have to even give them transport money to me. Sometimes they have to take loan, 200 naira, 300 naira, just to attend the food demonstration classes. So now when you hear that, they've gone for this training, they are now better equipped, they are able to help themselves out, you're like, look, our work is almost done here, and then it's more encouraging.
Indeed.
Okay. What I would like to find out from you is the times have changed.
Yes.
Things have gotten a little bit tighter for people.
That's correct.
And so many Nigerians are feeling the squeeze of the government. And that would mean that it would impact what you're doing, how you carry out your programs, because cost of doing several of these things would have actually gone up.
Very correct.
How has the economic reality of today impacted what you people are doing?
Okay, well, that's a very fantastic question because, it's as real as it gets. I'll say for a fact that, even something as, very basic, if I may put it that way. When I say basic, I mean basic when you compare it to the intervention. Basic as logistic cost, for instance, fueling. You have to get things, because we have an office at Lekki Phase 1, we have to go all the way to Egbue and then do all of these things. So you imagine if we are spending on fuel at a particular amount and then now it's twice the amount, but then I'm also grateful to our stakeholders. They've been relentless. We try to carry them along. If I'd say that this does not affect us, of course, that would be a lie. We don't have a voucher to say, because you're an NGO, go to the gas station and take fuel for free, or go to the market and, buy the food items for free. And, so I'm very grateful to our stakeholders, particularly to the founder, Chief Oladele Fajemi. He's been, more than kind and generous. I must say that some of our other stakeholders who also support us with certain food items. And that's the reason why I said it takes concerted efforts, because it's not really entirely about just the cash alone. Sometimes what you might not be able to get in cash, you might also get grants in terms of, say, food aid, in terms of maybe milk supplies for these children, maybe in terms of subsidized rates of some of the provision, maybe from Nestle, for instance, might get subsidized rates and all of that. So those are some of the things that really help. We try to also expand our network of donors.
All right. All right, on that note, Kenechukwu Egbue, Programs Director, Oladele Fajemi Foundation. Very revealing discussions. It's good to have you with us.
Yes, thank you very much.
It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure.